Testing, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Alright, so this is how you make stew. You first go about by getting about, like, depending on how many portions you want to make. What I'm about to make is double the recipe I normally do. Usually what you want to get is, you can get this at the store, stew meat. It's about a pound, not too expensive, $7.52. The other portion of steak that I'm going to be using is already a pre-cut piece of steak from my last night's dinner, as you can see. Open it up. But yeah, so what you can do is any kind of meat will really do when you're making a stew, because the meat's not really that important. What's important is how you season it and stuff. As you can see, this is like leftover meat, steak, real good. What you're going to need is you're going to want a pot. This one's, it fills it up to like right there. Not completely all the way full. Unless you want to do that way. You can make it like a lot of sauce. But I prefer mostly vegetables and stuff. You're also going to want a pan. A frying pan preferably. This is something you can get at Walmart also for like 24 bucks. Real dandy, copper, easy to clean. Doesn't stick too well. Whenever you're using, this kind of stuff without the Teflon and stuff, it's recommended to use plastic or wooden utensils, because if you use metal on metal, it likes to scrape it and then damages it, and then it doesn't last as long. You can also, to make the first step real easy, you want to grab your meat, you put all your seasonings that you're going to put on your meat in the bag itself. I'm not done yet, but you just grab any old plastic bag that you don't plan on using, and since we have a ton at my house, that's what I usually use. So what you first want to do is you drop in your flour, your salt, pepper, and whatever seasonings you want to put in the soup in this bag. Here, one moment. This is actually some pretty good flour right here. It's the Bronze Chief whole wheat flour. A lot healthier for you. It doesn't have any bleach. It's been already sifted through, I think like once, twice. But just in case, you can always sift through it one more time, which I hope you know what a sifter is. But in case you don't, sifter looks kind of like, oh shit, it's not up here. Oh, uh-oh. Where the hell did I put it? Kind of like this. This is kind of a shitty one. It was a cheapo one. But essentially, it has to have like little holes. Normally it's like a really fine weaved metal sifter. You put it in there and then you slowly bat on it so that way it falls to the bottom. This one has kind of big holes in it. It still does the job, but my preference would have been the metal one. Still haven't found one yet. But anyway, back to this. Alright, so what you want to do, starting off, is you get your pot and you put it on the stove and you put it on like a medium flame. So medium low flame, nothing too big. So while that heats up, you take I prefer olive oil. This is kind of the shitty olive oil, but it's not bad for its price. You're going to be using this a lot. If you don't have olive oil, you can always use canola oil. However, this is not as healthy. Or if you have a really good alternative, you could use vegetable oil. Vegetable oils. Damn, it's hard to hold this with one hand. You could always use vegetable oil. Vegetable oils, if you have this instead of this, use this all the time. For anything that says you need canola oil, use either this or olive oil. Besides, olive oil gives it a better taste anyway, in my opinion. I mean, when you're cooking with oil, it doesn't matter which one you use, but if it says to finish it off with oil, use olive oil. All the time. Always. Never this, only olive oil. Anyway, Yeah, just as an example, we'll use the olive oil as a seasoning versus you just use the vegetable oil. Alright, and then what you want, hold on, boop. Alright, and then how much you want in there is just enough to cover the bottom layer. Because you're just going to brown the meat in this real quick. There we go. Just enough to cover, like, you don't have to cover the whole thing, just enough that you know that it's cooking. Yeah, if that makes sense. Let's see what else. Don't put away this just yet. Alright, and then that, and then bag flour, put it in there. To clarify, you need to get a measuring cup, preferably, and you only get like maybe a cup, 2 cups. It's really up to you. Depends on how thick you want it, or how brown you want it. Yada yada yada. But yeah, you just get a cup of this. All right, and so then after you take a cup and a half of that, you don't get rid of this because you're gonna need it later also. But yeah, and then take your meat. It's hard to do this shit with one hand. Take your meat and you roll it on in there like that. Same with this one. Alright. So, I'd say put about maybe, for quality's sake, 2 teaspoons of black pepper and then 1 teaspoon of salt. You always, for every 1 teaspoon, put 2 teaspoons. Because since black pepper and salt go hand in hand. And you don't want to overpower the meat with salt, because then it just tastes disgusting. When I make stew, I usually put dill in there. Dill's really good. Dill and not really garlic powder, but you can do that too. But you be careful if you put too much; this will overpower the whole dish. Cumin. Cumin's really good. That's not though. Shit. All right, you're lucky I can't edit that out. So next ingredient you want is cumin seed. Really good. I like it. Gives it a little more depth, especially with the wine that I just bought. So, let's see what else. Ground coffee, no, you don't want that in there. There's many different kinds of cumin. There's the ground cumin one, which is from Fresh Foods. Kind of expensive, don't really use it. Go figure. I usually go for the little cheapo bottle, which is like 54 cents to $1. Really good, really easy to use. There's another thing I was going to add to this. Was it basil? No. I mean, you can add basil, but wouldn't really. Not this time. Rosemary, there it is. You want rosemary. Rosemary! Rosemary! But, yeah, rosemary's pretty good too. It's good with meats, tomato sauces, pork, fish, lamb, salmon. In this case, also stew. You only want a small bit though. You don't want too much because, again, you don't want to overkill it with this. So with this part, I don't usually use a measuring cup. I just do it by eye. So that should be a good amount. You don't want too much. Just enough to put it on all the meat. This one, I think this one might be a grinder. I hope not. Damn it, it is. Alright. So now comes the bitch part, trying to use one hand. So we take our hand and pull this. Oh shit, there we go. Yeah, that should be enough. About like a teaspoon of rosemary. Nah, half a teaspoon. Half a teaspoon. That'd be better. We add our cumin. You can either add it during this step, which is what I do, or you can add it during when you add the red wine and stuff. This is also a teaspoon. You don't want too much. Yeah, actually, 2 teaspoons. Up to you. Really. I like cumin. Cumin's pretty good. Not by itself though. Trust me, I've done that too. No. Too strong. Too strong by itself. So that's the word. So while that's doing that, and then you take this, right, and you tie it up. Let me tie it up real quick. Alright, and then it's all tied up, and then you just take it, and then you just shake the fuck out of it. Think of it like a customer that you really hate, and you just shake it up just like that. Alright, I'll shake up, and then you just open it to make sure all the meat is in season. See? It's really handy. And it helps with messes too. Just make sure to hold on to this part of the bag while you're shaking it, because sometimes it'll have like a hole and it gets everywhere. But other than that, it's really great. Alright, so then you take your meat and you put it in the pot and stir it. Alright, and so then once you get the meat in there and some of the flour in there too, what you want to do is you just want to stir it occasionally. You don't want to, you just want to brown the meat. You don't want to fully cook it straight up, because that's the whole point to the whole process and why it takes so long. You just want to brown the outside. Get rid of as much pink as possible. It's okay if it's a little pink, because it's not going to kill you as long as it's fully cooked. But just to play it safe, you brown it first. So every once in a while, turn it, pat it down, turn, pat, turn, pat, turn, pat, turn, pat. See how it's already turning brown already? Yeah. Of course, to be fair, that's also part of the seasoning, but I digress. If you don't think there's enough oil in there, you can always put a little bit more. You can always put too little oil. Doesn't always cook completely and it'll stick to the pan, but if you put too much, it's okay if you put too much, because what happens with the oil is because during the process of the stew, all the oils and fat bubbles to the top, which you're going to have to skim off of it anyway, and it's really easy to do that too. So don't worry about putting too much oil. Just don't drown it in oil. You don't want to drown it. If you drown it in oil, you're gonna have a bad time, okay? But other than that, yeah. So other ingredients that you're gonna want, which I should have fucking done it in the beginning of the video, you're going to want, what was it? You want red wine, as an example. You can get this bottle, which is what I use. It's not too expensive. Apothic Red Winemaker's Blend. It's really good. I've tried it by itself. It's not like the worst one I've ever had. Really good for cooking too. So yeah, you want to chill that. You also want red wine vinegar, which I believe I still have a bottle left. There it is. Warning, this shit stinks. Like bad. You don't want to spill it, you don't want to drop it, but supposedly you need it for fucking stew. Let's see what else. Oh, you also want vegetables. You're definitely going to want at least one type of onion, but in my stew I usually put 2 different kinds, because normally since we're doing double the recipe you need 2 onions. But I put 1 of each. So I bought one white onion, 1 yellow onion. You can even put purple onion, but you have to be careful because that also changes the color of the juice. Just a heads up. Real fun stuff. You can also add celery as a filler. Doesn't really contribute to the flavor factor, which is fine. You can add mushrooms, parsnips, bok choy, whatever vegetable you have on hand or whatever you want to put in there. Just don't go too crazy, because the more vegetables you add, the thicker the sauce gets. So yeah, fun stuff. Also keep an eye on your meat. Stir it. Cool, that smells so fucking good. Makes me want to eat it just like this. Alright, stir this a little bit. So yeah, you want vegetables, you want to get your meat. your wine, and your frying pan. Never forget the frying pan. Careful, sometimes it builds up on the spoon, so you just gotta go to good old whack. Jolly good show. See, so we got the celery, we got the onions. Oh, don't forget potatoes. It doesn't matter what kind of potatoes, you can either use the red small ones. I prefer the Idaho potato because it's bigger. Definitely, like, it's worth the money. I already used like half a fucking, excuse my language, I already used half a bag for my last stew, but that's because I kept too many. So I had to throw like half of them away. So out of all the bag of potatoes, you're not really going to need a whole lot, depending on the size of them. These are like half-sized Idaho potatoes. So you only need like this much. You don't need like 5 potatoes, even though the recipe says 5 potatoes. I personally think that's too many potatoes because you have to cook them before you throw them in the pot anyway. So yeah, and with the amount of vegetables that I have right now, I don't need that many potatoes. So I got the onions, got the celery, got the potatoes. What are we missing? Oh, I know what we're missing. Where are you at, cumbersome bean? Strawberries, no. Carrots. There it is. You want carrots. They add a little sweetness to the stew, which helps with the flavor profile. Which, since it helps the flavor profile, it also... Besides, I love carrots anyway. So out of this bag, you're probably going to use, like... Out of this one, anyway. I'm not going to use the rest of the bag. So, no stew for... Not stew. No roast beef for tonight. Oh man, this by itself is making me hungry. Stir this up a little more. Hold on, it's really hard to turn. Back, you bastards. Alright, stir this a little bit. Anywhere you see pink, flip it. Try to flip it. It's really hard to do with one hand. Normally I hold my hand with the handle, and then I'll stir. But it's kind of hard to do that and record at the same time. So at most, you'll be doing this process for the first 20-30 minutes. Yeah. If you're still browning it after 30 minutes, you're doing something wrong. That or you don't have the flame high enough. Like I said, a little pink is okay. If it's like that kind of pink, no. It has to be like that kind of pink. Like that pink is okay. When it's this raw pink, no, bad. Alright, so you want at least 4 decently sized carrots like this. 3 potatoes, some celery. I don't know how much you want to put in there, so for the sake of my stew, I will only put like maybe 4 sticks. And then 1 yellow onion, 1 white onion. Yeah. Let's put this away real quick. Man, this is a really long video. I'm so sorry. Normally you see those videos, they're only like 10-15 minutes. It's already reaching 18 minutes. Jesus, what am I doing? Bam. Oh, wait. We don't have enough budget? What do you mean we don't have enough? Whoa. What? What the fuck? I guess we do have a budget. Yes! Alright, so once your meat starts browning efficiently, we'll get it nice and getting rid of the raw parts, right? You want to grab the wine, then the red wine, vinegar, bam, bam. You take this and this, and you put it in a cup. Speaking of cup, you put it in this cup. You want about 4 tablespoons of, or maybe not even 4 tablespoons. No, 4 tablespoons 4 tablespoons of the red wine vinegar. So like about that much. I'm doing it by eye level, so it's not accurate. But about like that much. Not even like a cup. It's like 2 ounces. 2 ounces would be good enough measurement. Yeah, fuck it. I don't know. Then you want the 2 ounces, and then you want to get a bigger cup since I have it, and I love doing dishes. I really don't, but for the sake of the video, you want 2 cups of red wine. Yeah. Oh, and just in case, if you don't have a white corkscrew, I recommend getting one, please. It's really hard to do it without one. I don't know how to personally do it, other than like cutting the bottle. But you have to be careful with that because sometimes glass shards get in the wine, which then can get into food, which then can potentially, if not haphazardly, kill somebody. Yeah! Alright, so that's that open, and then you take this. Then you fill 2 cups. Oh, God, I love wine. I've always wanted to go to a wine garden thing, whatever, tasting. At least once. But I'm pretty sure I would drink so much to the point where I got fucking drunk. Because normally you're supposed to spit it out or whatnot. I wouldn't do that. That'd be a waste. That'd be like, oh, I'm gonna drink this bitch. So you take this, and this, you pour this one on top of it. Because, you know, efficiency is smart laziness. And I'm really lazy. So you take this carefully. And you pour it into the meat. Just like that. And then you'll hear a sizzle, sizzle, bubble and boil. Stir it up, make some trouble. Alright, that didn't rhyme. Fuck. You also want to make sure, since you're putting in the wine and shit, the bottom part cooks really quickly because of the alcohol. So for the first minute or 2, you want to scrape of the pan. If you don't, whatever stuck at the bottom will burn and will change the flavor of the stew. Not saying that the burnt part's bad, because that will also add to flavor. There's actually some dishes that require you to burn something at the bottom when cooking. It's really stupid dishes, don't make them. But, because if you fuck it up, then like it's really hard to fix. But once you find that there's nothing at the bottom of it, stir it a little bit, like that, and then you just let it bubble. What else? So you let that sit. You let that simmer. So you turn down the flame, just a tad, not a lot, just a tad. So you start seeing bubbles, like that. Perfect example. You start seeing those. That's simmering. Well, almost simmering, but simmering. And then while that's simmering, you chop up your vegetables. So I already started with the celery and the carrots. You cut them in half first. And then from there, you cut them into 1/4 inch pieces, like this. Like this. Like this. God damn it. I told you the budget wasn't enough. I told you. Wait, what? You sure? Oh, okay. Rock, paper, scissors. Oh, okay, alright, that works too. So, it doesn't exactly have to be perfect. Just as long as you can eat it with your mouth. Yes, with your mouth. Okay, so this is simmering. This is what it should look like. You should see like little tiny bubbles popping everywhere. That's perfect. And you just stir it very occasionally. Oh man, that's really thick. That should be fine, right? So, yeah, if you put too much flour, you make it a little thicker than it's supposed to be, which is like this. But this is also fine in itself too, because we're going to add milk to it later anyway. So, it's fine. It's fine. You can also add water if you don't have milk. Water works just as well. Just don't put too much water. because then it starts diluting the flavor. Alright, so the next part you want to do is you want to take a pan, or like I said before, the pan, and you want to put it on like a medium-high flame, no, maybe lower, like a medium flame. Yeah, that should work. Put some oil, not a lot, just enough. Let that heat up. Then you take your vegetables and you throw them on that thing. You don't want to cook them on the pan. What you want to do is you want to sweat the vegetables. To sweat the vegetables, what you do is you take them, right, throw them on there. Alright, hold on, let me put this down. Alright, so a little cook